Do a video on Reforged next, please.
Now play the Reforged mod.
You should try Elden Ring Reforged.
I like Reforged better.
Try Elden Ring Reforged.
If you don't play Elden Ring Reforged, then I'll tear your head off.
Yeah, okay, I might have made that last one up. It has been a long time coming. I've played the Convergence mod several times, and I absolutely love it, for the most part. I've played the Garden of Eyes mod, and I shan't be paying for that again. And now, it's time for me to complete the mod circuit by playing the Elden Ring Reforged mod. What's interesting about this mod, though, is that it doesn't seem to be a major overhaul like the others. Instead, at least by what my comments say, it's supposed to be an improvement on the vanilla Elden Ring experience. Whether that's true or not, we will find out together. Before we do though, if you haven't yet, you should subscribe. I don't really have a sales pitch for you, but it makes me feel good to watch these percents get closer together. Alright, we've got a lot to go over, so let's get right into the game. Regardless of what mod you're playing, you gotta start by making a character. There's 3 new starting classes, but they aren't really my style, so I chose the Confessor class. I was planning on using a blend of magic and melee, but honestly, I kinda forgot about the magic. I made my character, name's Dumboni, and we are off. Now, I don't know much about this mod, but I do know that they have added deflecting. See this little icon on the top left? That shows when your deflect is active. Deflecting is a massive addition and completely changes the way I saw combat in Elden Ring. We'll talk more about it later though, because for now, I've got an ass that needs beating. I woke up in the graveyard and found this Crucible Knight. I had to know what this was all about, so he told me to go down into the Cave of Knowledge, and down I went. Down here, there is a brand new tutorial section. These little tutorials are pretty handy, and would certainly be really helpful for new players. It taught me about crafting. There's all sorts of new stuff you can craft. It taught me about rune pieces and rune traces. These are kind of like Korok seeds from Breath of the Wild. It showed me that you can build FP by landing attacks, which is sick, and encourages players to make more balanced builds. It taught me about the new perfect attack system, which allows you to time your attacks in a way that'll conserve stamina, adding a new, but still totally optional, way to enhance your combat skills. And then I came across one of the coolest things about this mod, the fortunes. Picking a fortune, in a way, is like picking a class. Fortunes give you specific benefits that you can use to specialize your build, and there are all sorts of different fortunes you can unlock throughout the game. Then I got to practice my deflecting against my buddy Rick. I'm pretty bad at it, but I was determined to get better, and I was at this for a while. Then, at the end of the cave, there was a really neat new challenge. Basically, what they're doing here is teaching you all sorts of ways to defend yourself. You can jump to avoid low attacks, you can duck now instead of backstepping, which allows you to dodge without having to move from where you're standing. You can run around attacks, classic, and of course you can still roll, also a classic. And then after teaching you those things, the game pushes you to put them all into action. Now honestly, I was feeling pretty out of practice, so Crucible Knight racist? Crucible Knight racist? He messed me up for a while. The only way I was able to hurt him is to choose the correct defensive option, and this was a good way to warm me back up. After Mr. Racist, I got some cool armor, which I think, and I could be wrong, is cut content from the original game, and that gave me a light frame. That turns my roll into a more Bloodborne-like dash, and I'm 63% sure that it makes my movement speed a little bit faster as well. With the tutorial finished, I went over the new difficulties. There's one called Master Mode, which I'll talk about more in depth later, but for now, I'll be playing the Reforged mode, as it clearly states that this is the intended Reforged experience. I took the elevator up, threw open the door, and set my eyes upon Limgrave for maybe the 100th time. On every playthrough, modded or not, I fight the Tree Sentinel. Like with the tutorial area I just went through, he's a great way to get my feet wet again. Unfortunately, I still had my socks on against this guy, and now my feet are cold and freezing and uncomfortable. No, but really, I got beat up by him for way longer than I should have. I guess I'm really out of practice these days. That was made even more apparent when I faced the Beastman of Farum Azula. Okay, insanely specific and random comparison, but if you've ever watched the Super Smash Bros. Melee documentary, literally called The Smash Brothers, then you might remember Ken, who for context was the best player for the first few years of the competitive scene, talking about how learning about DI made him worse at Melee for a while. I won't explain what DI is, but it's a mechanic that should make your depth of abilities in the game better, whatever, but instead it threw him off his game until he was able to master it. And then Asin did some heinous shit with his Pichu. But back to the point, I'm trying to make deflecting a mechanic that should give me a wider range of options in combat was really getting in my head. I could only think about how I should be deflecting and nothing else, and it made me drastically worse at the game. Not that I'm that good anyways, but I think it's worth mentioning. Once I was done getting owned by one of the weakest bosses in the game, I ran off to meet with Melina. She agreed to be my friend and also gave me Torrent. Am I smoking penis, or is Torrent faster than normal? I'm pretty sure he's faster. I don't know what the penis thing was about. I'm all over the fucking place today. I noticed here that on the map there's little symbols for if you have encountered and defeated an area's boss. This is a really nice addition. Very cool. Now, I usually play some kind of strength build, but this time I wanted to try a Dex Faith build, considering the pace of combat with this mod is way faster. So I grabbed the Uchigatana from the Death-Touched Catacombs, and then I got on the grind. Not the boss-slaying grind like I normally would do at the start of the game, the deflecting practice grind. Not even really attacking back, just trying to get used to the deflect timing. I got way better at it during that time, but I still wasn't nearly where I wanted to be. But hey, progress is progress. I also learned that you might not be able to deflect everything against the Stone Digger Troll. Or maybe I just suck, I don't know. I met Rena, she gave me some summoning stuff, which I am absolutely gonna ignore, and then I felt like I'd better rip off the Margit Band-Aid. Honestly, I expected to be here for a while, that whole deflecting thing still occupying most of my brain space. And I did die a few times, mostly me being stupid or greedy, but on my 4th try, I took him down. I'm honestly kinda shocked. Melina took me to the round table, and I found here that you can resurrect bosses. That's dope. A good way to get some practice in or grind some runes without cheesing anything. I also learned a bit about the new Enkindled Ashes of War system. I didn't end up playing with it as much as I should have, but I do think that it's a pretty neat addition. And hey, a Pokedex. Oh, sorry, it's the Codex of the All-Knowing. Yeah, Gideon, that's way cooler. Anywho, I went back into the world and assault and batteried poor Yura. He certainly didn't deserve it, but I need his big, long, curved sword and his cock. But I wasn't even able to use it, so for some reason, I then got the bright idea to go fight Bloodhound Knight Darawil to get a different weapon that I can't use. That didn't start well, but after enough trial and error, I did manage to obtain the Noobhound's Fang. I feel like it fits the pace of this mod pretty well. Then, just to the south, I met a new face. Well, he's not really a new face. He's a horseless face. It's the Tree Sentinel, but he's not on a horse. I've said it many times in my past videos, but I really like these 1v1, duel it out, no bullshit type of boss battles. He hits like an F-150 hits a toddler, but I kept my cool and killed him on my 2nd try. And he dropped a new spell. I'm gonna forget to use it. I went further south and killed the... Okay, wait. Can I make a joke without actually meaning it? I wrote in my script the DEI cavalry because he's just Black Tree Sentinel, and I thought it was really funny at the time, but I don't actually mean it. I want to make very clear I don't actually mean it. I was really on something when I was writing the script. I don't know what the hell happened to me. From the nearby merchant, I bought the Oracle's Remedy. This allows me to unlock a new fortune, and because I'm addicted to deflecting, I thought the Fortune of the Dancer might be my best bet. It's got some specific buffs that help with my new style of fighting, so that's what I'll be going with for the foreseeable future. I digged around for a little bit here, killing another Knight's Cavalry, learning about the Sealed Ruins mechanic, which is neat, I guess. I took some pictures of Selen's feet, and then got absolutely brutalized, black and fucking blue, by the Crucible Knight. I usually just parry everything he does, so I'm not used to actually fighting him. I got him after 30 or so minutes, Jesus Christ, and then I felt prepared for Godric. I ran through the castle and straight to the big weirdo himself. Now, personally, I don't mind Godric, and I'd even go as far to say that I prefer the Convergence version of him to the vanilla one, because in that mod, he's much faster and feels like a real threat. And even though the Reforged mod did beef him up a bit, as well as improve some little things, I can't say I was overly impressed. I did take an embarrassing amount of time to beat him, but when it was over, I didn't really feel as accomplished as I do when I kill the Convergence version. Still though, it's time to move on to Liurnia. I killed an Erdtree avatar who had a funny new ability where it blows the fuck up, and then it hit me that maybe I should go restore Godric's Great Rune and see if that does anything fun. I did so, and Enya gave me access to these things called Binding Runes. You can unlock a new runes category for each of the restored Great Runes, but with Godric's, you can spend those Korok seeds to straight up buy stats. That's pretty sick. Gives you a reason to go out and find them, and gives you something productive to do with them. I said a moment ago that I'm moving on to Liurnia, but I lied to your face. I went on something of a killing spree in the Weeping Peninsula before moving on to ²ⁿᵈ to take on the Putrid Avatar. It was getting kind of late in the day here though, so I went to sleep, and the next day I woke up with a horrible idea. What if instead of having fun with this mod, I play it on master mode and torture myself? So yeah, that's what I did. I made a new character, ²ⁿᵈ Jr., creative, I know, and made my way pretty deep into the game. What master mode does is a few things. It gives enemies and bosses double their normal health, while also making them deal 30% more damage. Add on top of that the ability for bosses to passively heal if you don't hit them for more than 10 seconds, and their new, much more aggressive AI, and it's safe to say that I didn't stand a chance. I really tried my best though. I even made it further than I did in my original playthrough, but I got kind of stuck between the Red Wolf and Loretta spanking me, and I ultimately threw in the towel. Maybe I'll make a dedicated video to Master Mode someday, but for now, I'm going back to Reforged mode. That way, I don't ruin my first playthrough and sully my perception of the mod. Back as ²ⁿᵈ, I felt like nothing had changed from Master Mode. The Putrid Avatar was still kicking my ass, but I was determined to catch a win somewhere, and even though I wasn't happy, I beat it after like 8 more tries. After that, I got a pause button from the accessibility menu, a feature I learned about in Master Mode, which I personally think is awesome. Sometimes I get a phone call or my dog starts freaking out about something and I need to step away for a second, so having a pause button is really nice. I upgraded the Bloodhound's Fang a bit and tested it against ²ⁿᵈ. I always feel yucky saying his name for some reason. I don't like it. I beat him and then had some sweet catharsis against the Red Wolf. Fuck that guy. No, not really, he's fine. I killed Moongrum, get owned, and then was disappointed to find that there is no grace at the top of this elevator. Bummer. I went up against R'hllana. Nope, that's not it. I went up against R'hllana and man. Has anyone ever struggled with her? Because I've died to her. It's happened, but like, I don't think I've ever been on the brink of committing some hate crimes like I get when I go up against some of the other bosses. Anyways, I killed her and unlocked the Cradled runes. These don't really benefit me much as I'm not using much magic, or really any magic, but they're still cool. Now, man, Reforged makers, I need to have a word with you. Convergence folks too. Why are you punishing me? They took away the teleporter that lets you skip the stupid shitty castle. And I don't even think I would have had the teleporter unlocked anyways, and that's fine. I get you want people to experience the area, I get it. But like, maybe there could be a way for people to earn their way to skipping the stupid shitty castle, because I'm gonna be honest with you, that castle, both stupid and shitty. Shittier even, because they made it take longer. Convergence mod does the same thing in some places. Stormvale, for example, now takes fucking ages to get through. It feels like I'm getting punished for playing through these areas. I don't know. Back to the Reforged mod though, the boss at the end of the stupid shitty castle is also stupid and shitty. It's not that bad. It's a fire-wielding reskin of a lion guy, but after all I went through to reach it, I was hoping for a little more. The sword it dropped had a neat ability, basically a flame version of Lion's Claw. I'll keep that in my back pocket. Then I wandered around aimlessly for a while, and eventually I decided that it was time for me to head to the Altus Plateau. To get there, I needed the Dectus medallions. With both halves, I took my whole to the Lift of Dectus where I found a brand new boss, the Tree Sentinel. Yeah, I lied, it's not a brand new boss. Why is he here? Why didn't they put the dismounted Tree Sentinel here? Whatever, I killed him and then hoisted my way up to Altus. Once I was up there and inside of Lanedell, I ran into the Valiant Gargoyle. He's got a boss health bar now, which is cool, but why in the name of all that is holy is the camera locked to this isometric ass view? Like, dude, I can't even see anything like this. What happened here? I feel like it must have been glitched or something, but it did it more than once. I don't know, man. I didn't even try to make it work. The Draconic Tree Sentinel didn't put up too much of a fight, nothing new there, and after him, I was inside the capital proper. There was an item I had seen on the Reforged wiki, though, that I was incredibly excited about. Going back into Liurnia, I found a new rune bear. It wasn't too tough, but what it dropped was the Thunderous Beast Charm. It gives you a boost to your running speed, and also lets you deal lightning damage on a dash attack if you've charged it up for long enough. It's not a huge difference in speed or damage, but it's a fun little item. Getting back on track, I started my trek through Lanedell next. They changed this place up a bit as well, and like, why? Stop doing that. It's only worse than it was, and it took me like an hour to figure out where I was supposed to to be going. Please stop changing stuff that's already fine. Change the stuff that's bad to make it better, or add new good stuff. I don't get the urge to make something else more obnoxious just for the sake of it. Godfrey seems his pretty normal self though, maybe even a little more aggressive than normal, and I think it was just because I was in a bad mood at this point, but Godfrey was changing the shape of my anus. I decided then I wanted to switch to the Nagakiba and went out to upgrade it. I traveled to the Crystal Cave, killed the Crystallians, and... oh no. Ladies and gentlemen, the bell bearings are gone. Son of a bitch. So what you have to do now is find enough stones out in the world to upgrade a weapon. Once you upgrade a weapon with enough of one stone, then Hugh will start selling that stone. So to upgrade the Bloodhound's Fang to +5, I need to actually find a Somber 5. That's not a big deal. What is a big deal is when I'm forced to find 12 of one goddamn normal stone to upgrade something. Throw on top of that the drops that used to give you multiple stones will only give you one at a time now. Frankly, man, I think this is one of the dumbest things I have ever seen in one of these kinds of mods. The bell bearings give you basically no reason to find smithing stones naturally. I get that. But why would the correction be to now force you to go out and find those stones? It feels like you're discouraged from using anything other than somber weapons. Taking a break from complaining, with the Bloodhound's Fang, I finally put Godfrey down. He dropped the Phantasmal Effigy, which allows you to add a minor fortune in addition to your major fortune. This means you can spec better into whatever class you make for yourself, and I like that a lot. Continuing on, I started fighting Morgott and pretty quickly realized that I wasn't ready for him, mentally or equipment-wise. So then, to use the Nagakiba I spent like 2 fucking hours collecting smithing stones. Again, it's a horrible, awful change, and I'm only harping on it and so bummed out by it because pretty much everything else in this mod is amazing. It's just, there's like a few weird inconveniences that I really don't understand. I did eventually get my Nagakiba upgraded enough and took another crack at Morgott, but I needed a break, so I went to sleep and started fresh the next day. A new day, a new me. I'm fighting Morgott again, and I think the game crashed. Huh, that's the first time it did that. Well, maybe that's a sign that I should go do something else for a while. I unlocked a new fortune, the Assassin Fortune, and took that into battle against a different shard bearer, Radahn. Deflecting his attacks is scary. He's a big motherfucker. I get now how Melania must have felt. It only took 2 tries to bring him down, but when I went to see if anything had changed with his remembrance, I found these. Starlight tokens? Well, it turns out that there's some new stuff going on at the Chapel of Anticipation. So I made my way to the 4 belfries, went through the teleporter, and took on the Grafted Scion. Then, in the chapel itself, I found this altar that lets you buy nearly any item in the game. You can buy weapons, armor, spells, you name it. To keep up with the dex build I had going on, I spent almost all the tokens I had on the Sword of Night, a sick weapon from the DLC, and got it upgraded to +7. With a new weapon and a new attitude, I was finally locked in against Morgott. It didn't take long for me to, for the first time mind you, get him to phase 2. Just a few more attempts and I had defeated the Omen King, destroying that mental block I had. After Morgott, the game's progression really starts to accelerate, so to be sure I wasn't missing anything new, I went to check on some of the new bosses. There's one in the Sainted Hero's Grave, so I made my way through and came across... oh, you motherfuckers, seriously, it's the same guy. It's the exact same guy. Okay, well, there's also apparently a new boss in a different portal in the 4 belfries. This is Crucible Knight Hernan. I don't know. And this motherfucker is so strong. It's a combination of literally all the Crucible Knights and all their movesets, which is sick, but I am nowhere near tough enough to handle that thing yet. I was planning on farming some runes, and so I went into the Stupid Shitty Cave in Stupid Shitty Caelid, where I fought these Stupid Shitty Cleanrot Knights, just to find out they swapped the Silver Scarab and the Gold Scarab. That's evil. You guys are evil. Fine, whatever. I'm going to the mountaintops. When I got there, I beat Shabriri to death and got his armor. Now, this specific combo, the Ronin armor and the normal knight helmet, is kind of my signature look. Well, maybe signature is the wrong word, but it's my favorite fit because it is the one I beat the game with the first time around. So it feels good to have it on. Then for some reason, and honestly I don't know why, I next went to Castle Sol. I guess it was to get the half of the hidden medallion, but like, maybe I should have done some other stuff first. Because I fought and I all for a long time before I was barely able to squeak out the win. I got the medallion half and then stopped at the round table to... Oh god, I always forget about Ensha. This is scary. Yeah, he fucked me up. Alright, well, it's time for me to do the fucking, and that starts with the Fire Giant. The Fire Giant is a game of patience. Can you wait long enough to slowly whittle down his health, or will you get impatient and put yourself in the line of fire out of desperation to get it over with? Thankfully, I did the latter and killed him on my first try. He took me for a ride though. I don't know what on earth was happening. It was at this moment that it occurred to me that I had completely forgotten about Rykard, so I went to rectify that. I flew through Volcano Manor, destroying the Godskin Noble, grabbed the Serpent Hunter, got it upgraded, and then fought Rykard. It was totally normal and not really different at all. Like, at all. They didn't even try to fix the camera in this fight like most mods usually do. Well, after getting his Great Rune, I remembered that I should probably go activate all the ones I've collected so far. I got Morgoths, Radons, Rykards, and the rewards for each weren't anything like super crazy, but again, I really like this rune piece system. That leaves us with a handful of main bosses and only 2 shard bearers to handle. One of them is up next. Mohg. Mohg is only slightly different, but honestly, nothing that I think most people would even notice. I was scared of him, but it only took me 5 tries to beat him. Not bad if I do say so myself. And I do. After that, I wanted to finish fighting the new bosses. I found the Fallen Cavalry outside Stormvale, and even though I am very overleveled for this fight, I still had fun. I went down to Nokron and fought the Nox Night Maiden, who was sort of like a twist on the Spirit Caller Snail, which was pretty interesting. I entered Adon's Everjail just to watch him get butt stomped into a pile of goo by Thief Taker Akachio. I don't know, I don't speak French. And then I was just left with the Crucible Knight Fusion. Crucible Knight here was incredibly fun to fight. I was trying to parry like I normally would against these guys, but it takes 3 parries to get a stagger here, so even though I had a pretty easy way to do damage, I had to be way more on my game to pull it off than I normally would. And then after I want to say like 20 or so deaths, I finally was able to flow just long enough to take that son of a bitch down. And I mean son of a bitch as a term of endearment. That was a fantastic experience. So, like I said after killing Morgoth, the game progresses really quickly from here on out. I burned the Erd Tree, and that sent me to Fara Missoula. This place was a little different, and again, a little less convenient, which, whatever, but the Godskin duo seemed to be the opposite, or so I thought. See, I assumed with their health bars like this, that I just had to kill each of them once. I mean, of course, they don't share a health bar anymore, how else would it work? So after like 20 minutes, I finally managed to kill the Apostle, and then that fat fucking loser-ass noble just brought him back. That is evil. Needless to say, I put my foot down. Hey guys, knock it off. Yeah, there we go, that should do it. Before taking on Malekith, I wanted to check on my buddy Placidusax. It looks like he's gotten some adjustments, mostly in the AI department, and when I was fighting him, I didn't really notice anything. I died a handful of times, even writing in my notes, do I have to do this? Before, on the very next try, I killed the big dragon bastard. As far as Fara Missoula goes, we've just got one more boss. One of the few bosses that will almost always give me a serious run for my runes, Malekith. Well, the Beast Clergyman for Phase 1, but whatever. My first attempt was pretty much a bust, but on my second, I was able to get him to his next phase. And you know what? Just one more try, and I actually managed to beat him. I swear, sometimes Malekith just takes it easy on me. That guy's a sweetheart. I think he just didn't want to hurt me. But alright, the end is hurtling towards us. In the capital of Ash, I found another new boss, the Felthorn Spirit, and honestly, I'm good on this guy. I don't need it. I'm alright. Instead, I went upstairs and finger blasted Gideon's butt. That poor guy didn't even get to finish his monologue. In fact, he talked after I killed him for longer than it actually took to get the job done. But the next boss wasn't so easy. Godfrey is one of my all-time favorite Souls bosses, and I really enjoy the flow of this fight, but for some reason, he was totally kicking my ass. Usually I die once, maybe twice, but even after 10 tries, I was still just getting beat. It was like we were trying to sing a duet, but I couldn't get in key. I think it was try number 12 where I finally got my shit together and took him down. And so, folks at home, here we are. Not at the end, oh no. At the part everyone's been waiting for. It's time for my greatest challenge, Malenia. Now, I debated while writing the script if I should just let the fights play out with some music in the background or if I should commentate it all, and I think I'm kinda gonna do both. Let's talk about why Malenia took me, spoiler alert, 62 tries. My first attempt actually went really well, all things considered. I was deflecting her attacks with a decent success rate and dealing plenty of damage back, but I was rushing. I I wanted the win bad, and I did too much trading. Still though, managing to deflect a part of the waterfowl on my first go felt really good. My second try was not nearly as good, and neither were the next several. On attempt number 10, I had added the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman and the Curved Sword Talisman to my arsenal, but it didn't save me. It wasn't until over a dozen tries in that I finally got her to her second phase. It didn't pan out, and on my 14th run, I was getting discouraged over this one move she has. It's insanely fast, and there's almost zero startup animation to it, so you kind of just have to predict that it's coming. After my 17th death, I had enough. Something needed to change. I upgraded that weapon I'd gotten from killing that stupid lion bastard in the castle. It has a specific line in its description that, even if just metaphorically, made me feel like it was the right choice. My first try with it was cartoonishly bad, but I kept at it. 7 more deaths, and I realized that I never put the Fortune of the Dancer back on. It's perfect for this fight because it's all about deflecting, and that's mostly what I'm doing. Even with the new Fortune though, I couldn't make any headway. After 36 total deaths, it was almost 2 a.m. and my brain was no longer functioning. I needed to sleep on it, and sleep on it I did. So, as this new day of battles begins, sit back and watch me learn, improve, and mostly ram my head into the wall that is Melania, the Blade of Miquella. It might be hard to believe, especially for anyone that's also died to her an absurd amount of times, but that was actually so fun. Now let's go finish the job. Now for some stupid reason, I thought it would be a good idea to use Rivers of Blood for the final battle. I think I just wanted to replicate the Mortal Blade from Sekiro, but neither Radagon nor the Elden Beast can bleed. So after dying 5 times, I whipped the Sword of Night back out. It took a couple more attempts, but on my first try against the Elden Beast, I was able to hold it together. I defeated the Elden Beast, mended that hoe back together, taking my place on the Elden Throne, full man spread and everything. But that's not actually where the mod ends. There's some other content, including a new boss who, you have to have 200 rune traces to even encounter, and I collected, 20 something? Yikes, sorry gang, not doing that. And then there's an entirely new game mode, a boss rush. I love the idea of the boss rush, and I gave it a few tries, but I eventually capped out at 6 total bosses. That's kind of bad. So gang, that's actually the end. How do I feel about the Reforged mod? Well, I've got to agree with the comments that see this mod as an improvement on the vanilla experience. I'd say that pretty much almost everything they added was certainly a solid upgrade. It's just the things that they changed, some of them really bothered me, and it's mostly things they didn't need to change and they made way more inconvenient, but overall, I'd definitely say the Reforged mod is a more fun way to play Elden Ring than the base game, which is a big achievement. There's even some changes like the tutorial area or the option to put the game on an easier difficulty, which would be great for brand new players. Now, is this my preferred way to play Elden Ring? No. I still like the Convergence mod a little more, specifically for like some of the quality of life stuff, some of the build expansion stuff, but I'm glad they can both exist at the same time. Elden Ring Reforged, I like it out of 10. that's it for me, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. I can't believe I'm still here making Elden Ring videos after like 3 years of the game being out, but it absolutely warms my heart that there are awesome people out there still making stuff like the Reforged mod. Not to mention that the Night Reigns release date is fast approaching, so I'll definitely be giving that a shot. Thank you all again for watching. If you had fun, leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you again. GG's, everybody.